We always begin things by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us a little bit about your remarkable work.
Okay, thank you, Matt, for having me, and thank you to Setsi for having me. My name is Emma Asiedu-Akrofi. I don't even know where to start sharing who I am about myself. I was like, where do I start with that? But what I'll say is that I'm an advocate for young women and gender marginalized individuals. That has been my career over the last 7 plus, I would say even 8+ years. And I'm also just very big in community development, speaking for those or championing those who don't have a voice or who their voices are not being heard. I just really am about people and connecting and empowering where I can and using what I've been blessed with to encourage and motivate and inspire and support others. So my career really spans, like, it was a winding road to get to where I am now. And people always ask me, like, what did you take in school? Where did you want to go? And I always tell people, like, I'm Ghanaian. My parents are from Ghana. So born in Canada, but very much Ghanaian, born and raised. And, as a child, you're told you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant. So I had the focus, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to come into this, I'm going to go to school, and I'm going to be a lawyer. I got into school, university, and realized, no, being a lawyer is not for me. I have all respect for lawyers. I think they're wonderful. My brother is a lawyer, but I realized that was not my journey. And so it took me a while to figure out what that journey was. You try and find yourself in school. And when I graduated, I ended up in insurance. And I was in insurance doing corporate risk and recognize that this is not the space for me. I am about people. I'm about empowering others and building community and advocating for others. And I just didn't feel that was in alignment with my purpose. And so I had to operate a little strategically. It's like I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't have the experience to get there other than a limited volunteer experience. So it was really for me to decide how I was going to strategically move from this space of corporate risk insurance into community. And so I was very fortunate that I was able to secure a position at the YMCA of Greater Toronto, which, if anyone knows, is a very large charity in the GTA, supporting has over 5,000 staff and thousands of community members. And I was able to get into their risk management department. So it was still very much in insurance, doing policy work, like operating policies, risk management policies, and also doing the insurance piece, but I was in the organization and the sphere that I saw myself to be in. And so what I decided to do was really leverage that by joining like boards and committees and really working outside of my role when I had the opportunity to make connections in those spaces. And to really demonstrate what I was able to do. Even though this was my day job, I can do this. I can run events, I can champion campaigns, I could support others. So I was really doing that work. And through that, I was fortunate to be recognized for that ability. And an opportunity came up at the Jean Augustine Centre for Young Women's Empowerment. I'm sure many within the world in Canada, especially know the Honorable Dr. Jean Augustine, who was the first Black female MP in Canada, who hails from Grenada and has really, truly, she's leaving her mark. She's very much still active. So she's very much impacting Canada still to this day. But she did so much. And one of the things she did was to create a Center for Young Women's Empowerment located in South Etobicoke. That was the riding that she served when she was in government. So there's an opportunity that came up where I was able to join that organization as its executive director. When I started, it was a very small organization. It's still fairly reasonable in size, but I was able to join that as executive director. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me to learn and grow in leadership, in leading a community organization that is very grassroots, in empowering young girls 7 to 17. And in that space, I really learned that not only do I love community, but I love gender equality. That is my space. I am a self-identified Black woman, and I want to empower those. I want to empower girls and gender marginalized individuals and Black girls and racialized young people. And so I realized that was my jam. That was where I needed to be in this world. And so I did that for 7 years. And more recently, I've had the fortune to move to another organization called Fora Network for Change, which supports a slightly older demographic of young people. So for a Network for Change, we advocate for young women and gender marginalized individuals who are 18 to 25 to get into decision-making spaces. So we're trying to get them on boards of directors, we're trying to get them in front of government, we're trying to get them in tech spaces and leadership, anywhere where they can have influence, because they are change makers and their voices need to be heard. And so for the last, it's just a little over a month, I've been the CEO at For a Network for Change and very much enjoying the journey.
Wow, that's remarkable. I mean, to be with such a prestigious woman like Jean Augustine, like she's, you know, the Honorable Jean Augustine, she's just done so much for us as, you know, Black people in Canada, you know, so that's amazing. And Network for Change, I've heard of that as well. And, you know, being a part of Setsi, you know, I'm so privileged to really go in deep in these different Black organizations and seeing all the, you know, the powerful moves that are done. And, you know, that is one, when you mention about helping children from, you know, girls from 7 to 17, that is also my forte too, you know, getting in the health field. So I would go into York University and speak to young girls, you know, they're a little older than 17, but, you know, speak to them about health and things like that, because they are the decision makers of the future, you know, you can see that. So amazing.
Thank you.
And could you just tell us your personal mission and vision for us?
For us as a Black people?
Yes, and just what you do in particular, your mission. And
Okay, so I'll start with the mission of Fora, the organization I'm currently supporting. So we are advocating for young women and gender marginalized individuals to be able to access decision-making spaces to change status quo. So again, it's really just getting them into the spaces because they are so passionate, so intelligent, so diverse. They're change makers and their voices need to be heard in those spaces. It benefits society to have more people, diverse voices in those spaces. And I think we really need to reflect on the way things are being done and see where we can improve. Like for the sustainability of our world and our community, we need to have a diverse reflection of individuals at that level. For me personally, my mission very much aligns with that, and also it aligns with the mission of the Jean Augustine Centre. It's really just, it's to empower those who have been barred, who have been not given access to spaces like this, where it's very challenging to see representation, Black skin, women, racialized, different abilities, 2S, LGBTQ, all of those spaces, we need the diversity. And I'm very much an advocate for that. So anywhere I can support that is my goal.
Beautiful, beautiful. Doing some construction, so excuse me. What inspires you most about your current work?
Oh, that's a good question. The people, like, I'll give an example. So 1 month into my new role, I've had, and our work is remote. So we're home. Our programs as such are remote. And so within this first month, I've been able to meet the amazing staff that I have, like strong individuals who are so passionate and dedicated to what we're doing. We're a very small team, but from the outside, you wouldn't even know. Before I stepped in, I would think it's a large scale team doing this work. It's a small team of 9 individuals who are so committed to the work they're doing, so professional, so experienced in their craft. And additionally, this also goes to the board as well, who is also very passionate about this work and volunteers their time. But most in particular, what inspires me is the people, the youth. I've had a chance to connect with some young people who participated in our global summit, which is a summit that we put on every year for 30 young people globally. And so they're coming from every continent, every country, and they come together to learn leadership and advocacy. And then we do a summit for these young people. And so it's happening this year. So I've been able to meet some of those young people who have participated, the alumni of that, and they awesome, like literally knock my socks off with the things they're doing, the reflection and the maturity and the thought that goes into how they interact and want to see the world change is inspiring for me. I don't know if at that age, like 18 to 25, if I had that. And it's amazing. And I think more people need to be encouraged and given opportunities to learn and grow in that way.
Most definitely. I couldn't agree more. That's amazing. And any barriers or challenges you face during this remarkable work that you do?
Yes. I think like every nonprofit and nonprofit, funding is always a challenge. Capacity is a challenge. So funding first and foremost, we work with what we have to do the best we can, but it would be wonderful to be able to ensure the longevity of what we're doing to support young people. So accessing funding, within the grants world, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of restricted fundings, and there's not always guarantee that you actually will get the funding that you apply for, which is a challenge. We submitted some grants recently where it's all hands on deck, everyone's putting in, and we're spending so many hours, and there's no guarantee at the end of the day that you'll be successful in getting that grant. And then it's restricted, right? So it doesn't allow us fully to do what we see or where we feel that it would be a best fit. So finances are always a challenge. We also really want to, we also are always, like with most nonprofits, are looking for that unrestricted funding so that we can have the flexibility in paying staff living wages and ensuring that the funds are going to areas where we see the most need in our communities. So funding, capacity. I think if anything, the pandemic taught me personally, as a person and also in my leadership, is that burnout is real, is very real. Burnout is real, and to counteract that, we need self-care, like proper self-care for ourselves. We need rest. We need to be able to step away. We need to be able to pray. We need to be able to meditate. We need to be able to exercise and eat well, and all the things that when you're so passionate and you're on the laptops and you're so focused that sometimes it's easy to forget. So that's a challenge, and that's something I like to share with my teams, so that they recognize that it's so important. It's part and parcel with the work that we do. The other challenge, I think it's really just really making sure that we're adequately or we're successfully sharing the message. There's so much going on in this world. There's so many competing priorities that are of value. So it's like, really, how do we ensure that we're communicating how important it is for young people who are gender marginalized to have access to these spaces? Why is it important for women's empowerment? Why is it important for girls to be provided access and young people to be provided access? I think there's still room for people to learn and understand that. I don't know if we have 100% of champions behind us. I don't know if we ever will, but how do we really make sure that the message and what the work we're doing is really reaching those that needs to go to?
Those are powerful, key issues for sure. Especially, I feel you when it comes to the funding as well, because you have, to be able to provide the services that you provide. And like you said, to be able to provide a living wage for the ones that are championing this race and making the changes in these youth lives, and for sure, self-care. I actually did a presentation for Sisters in Solidarity just last night about self-care, self-love, especially coming into the new year and those things, and know how important it is, so that when you have that built up and you're filled within yourself of that, you can then spread it out to others. And that's that capacity. So for sure, powerful, amazing. And what are some of the key priorities in your work right now?
The key priorities, just to be tongue in cheek, like for me, it's just to get up to speed. I'm 1 month in, so I just need to be sure. I want to make sure that the message that I'm communicating on behalf of Fora truly represents and does honor to the great work that they've been doing for so many years. So that's a personal priority of mine, is to really make sure I'm representing my organization to the best of my ability. But in terms of priorities of the organization, we really want to continue the work that we're doing. So we are launching a report, an advocacy report that will called the Young Feminist Economy, to really understand how how young people, the barriers of young people, young gender marginalized individuals, in reaching their fullest economic potential, and how we can dismantle that system. Like, what can we do to really ensure that young women and gender marginalized individuals have access to those spaces? We also, priority for us is every year we have a global summit. So again, we bring 30 young women and people, young individuals from across the world together. And we really want, this year it's virtual. Every year it's been across the world prior to the pandemic, I would say. So they've been everywhere from Argentina to Japan, so on and so forth. This year it's virtual. And so we want to ensure that we have the adequate funding to make sure that in a virtual capacity, we're able to still do honor to that program, and that the young change makers that are in it feel like it's fulfilling and that and impactful in their lives. So we're really focused. That's happening in spring, summer, to really make sure that's a really solid program for our young people. And then we have a program, it's called Rise on Boards, where we get young women and gender marginalized individuals onto board of directors. So they are young directors. It's called Rise on Boards. They serve one term with that organization. It's a great program. Like previously, when I was at the Jean Augustine Centre, we had 2 young directors from this program in it, and they are phenomenal. One of them, I always say, is leading their strategic plan. Like, they're really solid leaders. And so we want to get more young people on board. So we're looking for a board of directors of any type of nonprofit who's interested in having a young person who has been trained, who's been provided with a coach and a mentor, to serve on their board with full voting rights for 1 year. And so we're really pushing those programs, really trying to, and additionally, the priority is also staff. Again, it always goes back to the machine of the organization. I want to make sure that the team feels supported and is not burning out, and feels like they have the ability to develop professionally, and just really ensure all of those pieces are in alignment. Sometimes with change, especially at the leadership level, sometimes it can feel a little destabilizing for the organization. So I want to make sure that all the stakeholders feel very secure in the change in leadership that we've had over the last little bit.
Most definitely. Powerful, powerful. And just a personal question. How do you feel about the future of nonprofits in Canada?
Oh, goodness. We need money. We need we need funding. We need support. Like, the work that we do is just as important as every other for-profit corporation, if not more important. We are working to change the lives and to support people. If people are not supported, if they don't have food, shelter, access, equality, like, what is the point of all of this? And so we need at all levels of power, government, corporate, et cetera, for them to recognize that this needs to be adequately funded. Like, we need to be able to pay our staff. We need to be able to have the capacity to run programs. So yeah, and the work is just as important. So I think that as a whole, and also I would say what I would love for this sector to do is to work together. I find a lot of us work in silos, a lot of independent work. We need to understand the power of collaboration and partnership. There's so much that we're doing that we could be doing together and go so much further. But one, it's to learn. We're all working so fast-paced that we don't even have the time to look up and see what others are doing. But once we do recognize there are synergies, how can we come together without egos, without pretense, to really work together to move forward? And I think those are some of the things I would love to see. And I would also love to see just more action, less talk. I would love to see us as a collective, nonprofits, corporate, really stop. We can have our meetings, but it's great to have a meeting, but what are the actions? What are the deliverables? What are the outcomes? I'm very action oriented in that way. And what are those steps? I think there's a merit to have meetings, but there's also very much merit to just getting things and moving them forward. So, but overall, I'm positive about the space, even though it sounds very negative. I'm positive about the not-for-profit, the charitable sector. I think it's a wonderful sector, and I think I'm hopeful that we're moving in the right direction.
Working in silos and collaboration, that is, I got goosebumps because I feel that is the missing key, and something that Setsi, we have also a group which I also contribute. I'm a collaborator for that. Is a Solidarity Working Group. And we all come together and do have the discussions, but I see what you're saying with action. And moving into the new year, that should be one of the key words moving forward, is yes, there's a lot of, discussion, ideas running through hopes and dreams, right? Bells and whistles. But then when it comes to the action, we have to put forth, right? And yeah, go up to the, stand up to the big dogs, I guess you want to call it, to say, hey, this is what's needed in order for future success and future progression into the nonprofit space for sure. So that's an excellent point. And on that note, like, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you and your colleagues?
So what does success look like to me? Success for me looks like peace of mind. Going to bed at night with peace of mind, knowing that I've done my best, given my best, and I've surrounded myself with people who truly care and are truly empathetic and really see that everyone in this world can contribute something and everyone can take something away. So I really want to surround myself with people who want to contribute, want to better themselves and also the world. So success is really peace of mind and just really just knowing that I'm on my journey, I'm on the right path in my life. And I'm really aligned with my purpose.
Beautiful. I love it. Love it. And amazing. So do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action, which I know you do?
So first I would again like to say thank you so much for,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. First, I'd like to say thank you so much, Matt and Setsi, for having me and just having this conversation. I really appreciate it, and highlighting and the work that you're doing to really highlight different organizations and movements. So I'm truly appreciative of that. And then closing thoughts would be, I think we need more of this. This is great opportunities to break down those silos, really for us to see and learn about so many people doing phenomenal work and understand how we can better work with each other to do that. So that would also be my call of action, is for people to really reach out and start to learn about other organizations. I know it's hard, the work is demanding, like day to day, we're just trying to keep the ship sailing, but like start to think in that broader sense, that strategic sense about how can we strengthen ourselves and others by working together, and not to have so much. Meetings are important, but we need to have action. We need to walk the talk. And so how can we do that better in 2024?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Everything you said was so key and on point. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on, but trust me, you will shake the mountains and make the river ripple, with this interview. Very beautiful, Queen, and we're just honored to have you. Thank you so much again. And we will close the way that we began, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts, excuse me, whose shoulders we stand on as we learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So again, Dr. Emma, I thank you so much.